Hey kids, this is hexrayvision, aka hexrayvision, coming to you live from Quattro Cinco Studios in my mom's basement. And I've got a couple of great guests this morning to continue talking about what we've been covering recently on the channel. We have Mark and we have Proof of No Work Dev, who are both participants in the Forge Council and on a curator platform. So go ahead and introduce yourselves to anyone who doesn't know you already in our audience, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks a lot. My name is Mark. I'm co-founder of the Forge and curator. I've told my whole story before, so I think I'm not going to say that again. But super happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah, I'm Proof of No Work. I'm just a community member that joined on with this project here. I'm an analyst on the curator platform, and I'm trying to help spread awareness with Mark of this because I really support the ideas behind the project.
Yeah, and you've already got, and you also have a set of NFTs and a token as well, correct?
Yeah. I have a couple of tokens out. One's called Proof of No Work, and the other one's called Proof of Some Work. They're both on Pulse Chain. And then there's an NFT collection called the Your Keys, Your Crypto collection that's available on both Ethereum and Pulse Chain.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So you guys started your NFT sale, but I'll just let you explain and take it from here.
Sure. Yeah. No. We launched almost a week ago, and it's going super well. Maybe I'll share my screen and then I can show people the page and give a little bit of insights of what's going on. And you can just stop me and ask questions if you on all caps. If you have questions, let me know. So this is the NFT sale. We started about 6 days ago, I think, pretty much exactly. And it's been going really well. These are the NFTs, of course, that we're selling, which are this very important aspect to govern the Forge ecosystem that we're building, the launch Kickstarter Launchpad ecosystem. And here we go to the actual campaign. So you can see that we sold out the first, the second, and the third tranche, and are now on the fourth one. So the price increased from $100 to $130. And this is actually tracked by Jay from HexPulse Info, who's going to develop the smart contracts of the Forge with us. So people can kind of go check here about the actual details. So you can see we've already raised 60K. So super happy about that. And especially happy that it comes from 77 different wallets. So here you can see the individual contributors, and you can see very quickly on the second page, third page, we're getting down to lots of small contributions, and people can see how much they contributed and how many NFTs they should get. And of course, the more wallets we have here, the better, because the more decentralized this entire process gets. So yeah, this is super cool. Do you guys have any questions or any thoughts on this specifically?
Mark, could you cover why there's sometimes display issues with the amounts of sacrifice funds received on the website and the curator platform?
That's a good point. So actually, the curator platform here will get the data to display this from the sacrifice page. And I know there was quite a bit of issues in the beginning about tracking, I think especially Pulse chain transactions. I actually don't know exactly what the issue was. I think we'll have to ask Jay about that. It's a bit, now the issue seems to be mostly fixed. There was for a long time, it was just a few $1,000s behind here. Some other people tracked the performance here on DBank, which seemed to be more immediately up to date. This still changes a little bit because some people have also sent Pulse to us, which obviously the value changes a little bit. Although we actually only accept stable coins. But yeah, so that's why here the value changes a little bit. This seems to be almost synced now. every now and then, like once a day, this seems to drop down to 18K, and I'm not really sure why. Randy Hilarski just mentioned this in our chat, and Jay from Hexpulse Info, who does all the tracking here, is checking up on that. So I think hopefully we'll have an answer very soon about this.
Yeah, from what I understood, there's an issue with sourcing the information specifically on the Pulse Chain blockchain that for whatever reason, the equation that he has set up sometimes throws an error back, or the data that they're trying to harvest isn't displaying correctly. So I think it's just something that he has corrected, it looks like, because if you went to DBank and you're showing the price right there, they're the same. There used to be a large discrepancy in it where it was, I mean, like you're talking a few less than $100 there, but there used to be thousands of dollars discrepancy, and it was because the Pulse Chain stats weren't updating as quickly as all the other blockchains, from what I understood.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it was especially difficult in the very beginning when we had a lot of transactions coming out, especially when we launched the campaign. But I think most of that has been fixed now.
And you said your goal was 555,000, and your cap is at 1 million. Is that correct?
The cap is at $750,000 exactly.
750, and the goal is to hit at least 555, right?
Yeah, that's our goal. We don't really need. I mean, we are going to launch the Forge either way. The platform, as I've showed it now many times already, is done. And actually today we're going to launch right here on the show the submissions page, and we're already going to start accepting projects. We are setting up now a really cool panel of the first analysts who will go through the projects and help vetting and supporting it. So the project will launch either way. We don't need to hit the cap, but yeah, our target is to raise 550K.
Dropping the alpha here on Hexray's channel, nice. I haven't even seen it.
Yeah. So any other questions about this?
That you guys this page right here where you've got the different ones. So there were 100 that were $100 each, correct? Yes. And then there's 200 more that were 110 each.
Yes.
And so now the current rate we're up to is 130, and that'll go up to 900 NFTs. And do people know which NFTs they're going to get, like if they're going to be rare, or what power or use they can have on the platform?
Yeah, all the NFTs are actually the same. There are some rarity traits visually, but they don't impact the utility or what the NFT gets. So each NFT will get the same amount of Cure tokens airdropped on a monthly basis to allow the people, the holders, to interact with the platform. So it acts like a regular launchpad, right? So now these first projects come through, and if you want to be able to get kind of good allocations in the projects, you'll need to get more NFTs so you can get more Cure tokens to lock up. And for each NFT, you'll get the same portion of the tokens that come through the platform. I explained this before. So any project that comes through the platform, when they start the process, they can donate a portion of their tokens. And the more they donate, the more the community is incentivized to review the project and bring it through to a successful launch. So projects have a high incentive to do that. And a portion of these tokens will be shared over all the NFT holders. So yeah, the more NFTs you have, the more of those tokens you get, plus the more Cure tokens you get, which allows you to interact with the platform and basically become an investor in the launchpad.
So yeah, the functionality and utility is all the same or fungible, but the artwork themselves are all unique, and that's what's making it an NFT. So, there won't be a differentiation in between the NFTs as far as utility, except for those NFTs which are held for a longer period of time. They start to gain a larger dominance or larger pool or weight inside the pool for their votes. The images are all unique.
Exactly.
And then the NFTs in the Cure platform are the ones that are used for upvoting, slashing, and other things, correct?
Yes. So if we go back to the platform, so this is Curator, but actually this will be the Forge interface, and this is what we've been testing now for a long time. So if you have a project in here that will come through, you will need the Cure tokens locked up to get these super upvotes that you can give out to people. And you also, the more Cure tokens you lock up, the more you can then invest in. Basically, you get better multipliers in the projects that come through. So you'll need the Cure tokens for that. You'll also need the Cure tokens to become an analyst, but that's very limited. I mean, basically having 2 or 3, I think 2 NFTs should be enough for that. But for getting big allocations in the projects that come through, you'll obviously need quite a few more NFTs than that, because we've set it up like a leaderboard. So the top 10 wallets will get the top 10% of allocations in the projects. And it depends a little bit, depends how many people actually want to invest in the project, right? But if you're in the top amount of locked up Cure, then you will get more tokens. And to get those Cure, you need to get the NFTs.
Cool. So the more NFTs you have, the more Cure tokens you may receive, and then also some more of the Cure extras you may receive on the platform.
Yeah, it's not really the Cure. So the other thing is not the Cure token, it's the various projects that come through. So for example, this is the Belief project, right? They will have their own tokens. They will give a percentage of their tokens that will be airdropped to all the NFT holders. That's one. The tokens that they donate will be shared over the NFT holders and also over the people who have locked up Cure tokens, and it will also be shared over the analysts. So basically, the more tokens you have locked up, the more project tokens you get, and the more NFTs you hold, also the more project tokens you get.
And the super upvotes as well. The super upvotes are very rare and an important part of this, because you'll want to use those super upvotes in order to upvote projects which you support or which that you want to see go to the top ranks. So if you have a project that you really like or a project that you really don't like, you can use your super upvotes to upvote a review which favors your opinion. And then that way you can help people to stay away from a bad project by super upvoting bad ones, or you can help people to get into good projects by super upvoting the good ones. But those will be rare, and that will be another addition, another value to have more tokens to get more super upvotes.
Yes, and that's part of the thing. So on top of that, you will actually get rewarded for giving out the super upvotes, because it's work, it's value that you contribute to the platform, and we really want to encourage people doing that. So the way the Launchpad works is that I almost feel like I need to paint something here. Let's see if I have I don't have. But imagine, so basically there's going to be a leaderboard of points. And the higher up you are on that leaderboard, the more allocations you get in the projects that come through. And that's very valuable, because if a good projects come through, obviously they can make a lot of returns, and you want to get a bigger allocation in there. So to get up in the leaderboard, you can do various things. You can either lock up the Cure tokens, and that gives you a lot of points. But you can also, the more super upvotes you give out, the more points you get as well. So if you lock up a lot of tokens and you give out a lot of super upvotes, then you get even higher. Now, writing as an analyst and getting super upvotes will also give you points. So if you're a really good analyst and you come in and you write a lot and you get a lot of super upvotes from people, you contribute a lot of value, you can also jump up in that leaderboard. So the top of the leaderboard will have people who lock up a lot of tokens, who give a lot of feedback through super upvotes, and who write a lot of good reviews. And those are the people who will get the biggest allocations in the projects that come through, because they contribute the most to the network. Is that simple enough?
Yeah, I think so. But you'd have upvotes, super upvotes, but we don't have any super downvotes. So if you want something to get attention, whether it's positive or negative, you would use the upvote in both situations. Is that correct?
Yeah, but you can super upvote a 1-star review, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So we tried with downvotes, and we felt it created a lot of negativity on the platform, because it's not really about the project anymore. It's more like people arguing with the analyst about their review. So if you go here to the bottom one, this review doesn't get any super upvotes. I think the guy gets it. You don't need to go on top, downvote saying, this is really shitty kind of thing. Now, if a review might get super upvoted a lot, and other people come in and say, well, this is at the top, but I really don't agree with it, we kind of felt like in that case, it should be flagged. You shouldn't come in and say, I disagree with this, blah, 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 because it creates a lot of tension and stuff that we've seen, and not a lot of constructive kind of criticism. So you can instead go and super upvote maybe a competing review. So we have a good example here, RT, which is we've reviewed this a long time ago, and you can see that there's a lot of 5-star reviews, right? That have also been uploaded, right? But then one person came in. Actually, back then we didn't have these super upvotes yet, so you see a lot of regular upvotes. This has been a while ago, so just a few super upvotes have been converted. But you can see the top review was a 1-star review, and I remember this was just pointing out legal issues with the project, basically, suggesting that you'll make many, many X's, which we all know is expectation of profit and all of this kind of stuff, right?
Immediate red flag in crypto if somebody's guaranteeing you a price appreciation of whatever it is.
I mean, this is horrible, right? You're comparing yourself to, if this or this or this happens, like you get like 300 X's kind of stuff. It's complete no, right? But the other guys were reviewing it, saying, the gameplay is really good, the graphics are really good, and things like that. And they also got a lot of upvotes, right? So we generally, the upvotes are a really positive way of giving feedback, and that's why we require with the super upvote to give a comment, right? And that's why we don't do any downvotes. But as I said, we are in the process of launching a very detailed flagging mechanism where you can flag a review for false information, for being harmful in some way, for maybe shilling. And what will happen is that in the background, this will give negative points to the review, to the analyst. And once it accumulates enough, then it will go into the voting system where the entire community then can decide on this. And if a user is a kind of a repeat offender and gets many negative points, eventually they, of course, get banned from the platform. But before that, they might get their token slashed that they have to lock up to be an analyst. They might get some of their privileges revoked. They might get temporary bans. They might get voting, their voting limited and things like that.
Yeah, and I appreciate at the top, you've got the top reviews for each project, but then you've got the latest reviews, because a lot of people come back on here and do updates. Like that, maybe they've reviewed it a few months ago and the project makes some improvements or changes, and then they come back and they update and say, okay, well, this is what I didn't like about it a month ago, but I like they fixed this. I still want them to fix this. And so that lets
I find this flagging system way superior to the downvote system because of the ability to potentially remove a post rather than just get it to go down to the bottom of the page. If something's truly harmful or impacting people in a negative way, you want to see that content removed. And so then just arguing with somebody in the comments about it is not going to do anything to accomplish that. So I like that flag system a lot better. And I also think it would, if you encourage the downvotes or left the downvotes, it could dissuade people from writing negative reviews. So without that ability to downvote things, you're actually going to encourage people to give more criticism, which is what you want.
Yeah, we've tried it out, and it's just downvotes. They get very negative quickly. And as you say, the analysts, they're humans, and when you start writing reviews, you can see how you emotionally to get upvotes, it's really good and it encourages you to the right thing, especially if people tell you through the super upvotes why they appreciated your content. So it's a very uplifting, positive kind of environment that it creates. It's like a positive feedback loop, whereas downvotes are just, they just create, the analyst gets on the fence and they're like, and then it becomes this kind of arguing over things that's just not very helpful.
Yeah, and unlike a machine that people don't forget, so you just have to sit there and think that if you're going to downvote this guy's comments or critique his stuff, now he's going to remember that, and going forward, he'll carry that animosity towards you. And if you have anything that you were to shill or something like that, which he was on the fence of, he might be biased and persuaded into going into it even more aggressively or coming at you, because we're just humans. So you got to understand that the human psychology is unlike a machine, will remember. So you can't just wipe it,
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. And so you got the analyst reviews here, right? Mm-hmm. The 5 stars. Have you guys considered doing a regular user, almost like an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, where you have the analysts or the professionals, the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, they'll give it a score, and then the audience will give the movie a score, and sometimes they're wildly different, where the audience just happens to love a certain genre or a certain actor, and they'll go and force to the theaters to give it a high rating, but the critics will watch and say this movie sucks,
Yeah. So we actually have had it like this, where I can't show it now. It's AJ. He hasn't come on here yet. He has to come on here sometime, so you guys all get to meet him. He's a very talented coder, but whenever he can depreciate something, then he does that, because as in coding, you really want to keep things as light and minimal as possible. So whenever we say, maybe we don't need this so much, then it's gone. So I can't show it. But basically, we've 99, maybe 0.9% of those reviews were maybe 3-word reviews that either said to the moon or this sucks, So,
so they weren't that helpful.
No, they were not helpful at all. So I do see a future where they can be helpful, but we'll need. It can't just be that anyone comes and posts any review, because that will just be meaningless, So you need some filter. So, for example, people will have to create an account, but of course that's easy to because you need an email, you need to verify the email. So there's a little bit of guard, but of course people can create thousands of emails and stuff like that. Maybe once we implement staking, people can write reviews if they stake a little bit of tokens. That's one of the ideas. The other idea is that people can write just generally reviews, but they need to get a supra vote before kind of we start even considering their reviews, right? So they would go into kind of a feed, and then their user account needs to be validated. But yeah, long story short, we have been talking about this a lot. I've actually talked to KG from Internet Money a lot, because he felt this is really needed to give everyone a voice. But having said that, this is all for the curator side, because for the public reviews of public projects. In the Forge, what you're seeing here, this will all be a private space. So the whole process, if you look at this as a timeline here from the left side to the right, where the project comes in, there will be a buffer here on the left, where you should have hundreds, if not thousands, of projects, and many of them will be sorted out by the system, and then the ones that are real submissions will pop here into this micro review space, and then analysts see this and they can pick the ones they want. Some of these we will have an NDA function. So if projects, and now we're actually smoothly going into the topic of how to submit projects, because this will be important information. We don't have the NDA function yet, because now in the beginning everything will be completely private. But in the future, if you come in, you can select the NDA option. Everyone knows what NDA means, right? I don't have to.
Non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah. So basically, if someone's sharing an idea or some information with you that you're not supposed to share outside of that.
Exactly. You can be held legally liable if someone figures out that you shared the information, right? As an analyst, for example. So many people are scared that someone will steal their project idea, for example. Then they can check that NDA option. And then it will only be shown to analysts who have agreed to NDA terms, right? So now these projects pop in here. There's many, and you're an analyst, so you can come through and you can browse through these. You can check out the short description and stuff, and then see which ones you might want to review. I think if you want the NDA option, it will make it much harder for you to attract any analyst to come to review you, just because it's complicated for them. So if you really want a lot of speed, a lot of scale, a lot of people come in, look at your project in the future, I recommend for most projects to not, require the NDA option, stuff like that. We can go into much more detail about this. I don't know if we still get to it today, but I'm a strong believer in that. An important thing for projects to succeed is to just get as much feedback as quickly and move fast. And that's very hard to do when you have all this kind of NDA agreements and stuff like that around.
Yeah, and I noticed these have a bonus of 1.5x, and they have a time limit next to them. So these are people that are offering extra tokens or extra NFTs for reviewers.
Yeah, so this is still our closed beta. So this is not actually how it will be exactly in the Forge. Some of these things will be tuned a little bit. Until now, we've given out pure tokens for analysts who reviewed and interacted on the platform. So this, and you would get, a certain amount of tokens per review, per super upvote you get, and so forth. So if you reviewed something that is in the spotlight, you would get a bonus. But yes, so most likely on the Forge, it will be similar that some projects can give bonuses. And they can either give, I'm just thinking here, so they can definitely give cash bounties. So this will not really be a bonus, it will be a bounty, and it might be $200 or something. And then you can see, oh, there's 2 analysts already in. So I'm going to come in and then I can get a good chunk of that bounty. Your bounty, the percentage of the bounty you'll get, doesn't depend on the project. So these amounts cannot influence your review. Your bounty that you get will depend on the super upvotes that you get for your review. So if there's 5 people come in and there's $200 bounty, or let's say it's $500 bounty. So it doesn't mean each of the 5 gets $100. If then the investors come in and give all their super upvotes to one guy, that guy might get $300 or $400 of the bounty, and the other guys don't get anything. Just get little. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Yeah. And each one of these micro reviews are blind to the other participants until they submit theirs.
Exactly. Yes. Obviously, so people can't just copy each other's reviews, right? But on the other hand, it really is, people very easily get influenced by the opinions of others. So that's a very important part. And it's also important for the project because projects often get defensive, which is another thing that, since this is a stream more about projects and their submissions, we have various documents that we give out to projects to kind of teach them how to deal with the reviews, because I think one of the most important factors for success for a project is that you are open to criticism. I think, I heard Elon Musk or something say something like, you should really listen to the criticism of your close friends, because usually you are wrong, and usually very often the criticism about your project is right. And we've seen that very heavily, that because projects are so engaged in and they know everything about their project, they very easily get upset when people say something bad or wrong or whatever about their project. But it's not about what is right or wrong or true, what is factual or not. For the project, the important thing is the perception of the market, of the investors, of the consumers, right? So when they see, and this is where these blind reviews are so valuable, if the project sees that 5 people all give me, they didn't see each other's reviews, and they all give me the same kind of feedback, it's just a very powerful message for them to change something. So yeah, that is this micro review, initial review section.
And that's something that a lot of project founders have a real hard time with, because a lot of them are super focused on analytics and solving equations and facts and getting an exact answer. But oftentimes to the community in the market, those things don't matter. And so, like Mark is saying, the perception is what really needs to be focused on, not necessarily the truth, not the facts, not what's going on or anything else. It's actually more so about convincing people to think that this is not bad. And however you're going to do that is, there's various ways to accomplish that. But whatever idea you're pitching, it's not even as much about the idea, it's about the perception of the idea.
Yeah, I can give you an example. I mean, Proof of No Work knows that we've been figuring out what to call the forge for a long time. I never wanted to call it a launchpad because of so many reasons, because it's so much more. And, it's a decentralized Kickstarter ecosystem and all of these kind of things. But the more we talk to people just called it a launchpad, So in the end, we had to say, okay, well, it's a launchpad, even though it's not really a launchpad, but that's what resonates with people. They still, once we say, well, it's a launchpad and it has all these great features, then it's easy for them to understand, and they still understand how it's different, and they love all these other aspects of it. But if I want to force my understanding of it, saying, well, it's not a launchpad because it's this ecosystem that's kickstarting and mentoring and blah, 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 then I end up in this situation where people don't really understand what it is. And maybe I bring this up here again, this graphic, because this is a good example. So this is this problem that we figured out after going through so many projects that almost all of these startups have, because they come in and almost all of them get a 1 or 2 star before they start actually talking to analysts, because they want to say something in one way. So my example is, I wanted to say that the Forge is something much more than a launchpad, right? And I tried my hardest to find the word that communicates that, but no one understood these words. They're new to them, they don't understand it. And what investors actually want to hear, they want to hear that there's a launchpad, something that they want, but that is improved with blah, blah, blah features. So once we've talked to a lot of them and we've kind of narrowed in on the way to say that, being a launchpad that minimizes, rug pulls and so forth through the smart contract and through decentralized due diligence, then we had this effective communication that people really understood quite quickly.
And if you look at this graph here, you'll see what founders want to say. You'll envision like technical details, how their project works intimately, what it is compared to, and why it's superior. And then if you look on the right hand, what do investors want to hear? How does it benefit them? Where are they going to get value? So what you have to do is find that middle ground where you can communicate to the investor why this is superior and what this project is and how it will benefit them. So that's really what you're trying to do. You're going to see money signs really in green charts is all anyone cares about on the right side, and technicals and data is all anyone cares about on the left side. So you got to merge those two groups and audiences, because their principles and fundamentals and what they care about are very different. So it's often hard for someone on the left side to relate to someone on the right side, even though they may have something that benefits them. That's the trick part, is finding the effective communication middle ground, and what is really what all these projects that are super successful, or businesses or anything, do an excellent job at, is the communication between the sides to let them know why you should be interested in this and how it can provide you value.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say hi to the folks in chat. We've got Red Squirrel, Oi Pops. He's almost always first. Crypto Compassion, good to see you, John. I'll be seeing you in Vegas here pretty soon. Yep K, Tin Top, Randy Hilarski's in the chat. Hey, Randy, how are you doing? Randy was around during the Steemit days. When Steemit was big, it kind of had that same idea where it tried to make a decentralized social network and reward people for the most positive or valuable posts, So you had people on there with travel blogs or crypto channels and whatnot. And I mean, it's still going now, but that definitely got top heavy and was, didn't the checks and balances didn't work out in steam it as they could have. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's a lot of parallels between that and this, where the more you come and show up, the more you bring, the more not only are you invested in the community, but the more you could be rewarded for your time and effort. And it's a synergistic, right? So if you're putting in 3 units of energy and someone else is putting in 3 units of energy, it's 9 instead of 6, right?
Exactly. That's exactly the point.
So let's jump into. I've got a project. How would I propose or put my logic project on the Forge?
Yes. So actually, we're gonna have to wait until tomorrow until you can access this from the page directly. But if you guys want, you can actually go to this link. I'm a little bit zoomed in here, maybe.
Yeah, zoom in a bit.
There we go. You guys can see this or not?
It actually zoomed out. I think we have to do is zoom out and then it will zoom in.
Okay, well, this is regular Zoom, so
There we go. It's a little easier to see now.
I can zoom in, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll just have to describe it because it's really hard to see, man.
Really? Okay, cool. Well, sorry. Yeah, so this is just a submission form. Very simply, you can now submit your project, come in, put a project name, we're making it very simple. So just put a short description, if it's a DEX, you can say it's a DEX or a reflection token or anything like that. And then if you want, it's optional. You can put any additional information. And then a link, again, this is optional. You can put a website or a pitch deck or a white paper, and then just put your contact, email, and or Telegram handle. So we made pretty much everything optional because we want to make it very easy for you to submit the project. If you don't have a white paper, nor a deck, nor a website, nor any additional information, then we will probably not consider the project. But if you have anything that actually describes your project, then it can come into the first cohort, basically, that we're going to go through. We're currently putting together a handpick panel, which will likely consist of the people here in the stream and people from the DGen Roundtable and lots of other great places that you know. So we'll have the first cohort that goes through this will be kind of in a private setting where these people will review it. And then in about a month or just soon, once we complete our NFT sale, and a few weeks after that, we will then launch the actual public review section where the people who've gotten the NFTs can come in and become analysts, can become investors, can start doing the super votes and all of these things. So the very first round we're doing now is going to be in a closed beta kind of way. And exactly, and after that, we launched the full version.
Awesome. Let's say hi to LB19 here in the chat. I don't know if I mentioned you over there. Also, is at this point, or is it the next step where people would choose whether or not they want the analyst to do the NDA?
That will be in the next part. However, at this point, so when they submit this information, we will not share anything publicly yet with anyone, not even this analyst panel that we have. So they can submit the information. If we like the project and we want to put it in. So this part is not how it's going to be in the future. In the future, when we launch properly, projects come in and it's the analysts that pick which projects that they want to review. But in this very first cohort that we'll bring through, where everything has to be a bit more managed, it's more kind of testing and stuff like that, we will pick the best projects. We will then, once we've picked them, contact you and saying, we really love your project. We would get it through this process and then ask for permission, basically, to share that information with the analysts, which we will announce in the coming days who that is. But again, people on the stream and then, people who have been on our leadership board and people that in the community will be on that board. And then we will, of course, run it through this platform. So all these guys come in, they write reviews about it. This will be in a private setting where only the project and the analysts have access to it. So it will be really exclusive opportunity to get access to all these, famous pulse chain people, right, who will be part of this. Again, a hint for who's going to be on there is the people who are on our leadership board on the website, but there's many more people that I think will come on there as well. So it's a great opportunity to be part of this first test cohort that will populate. It will fill this review space that I've showed you now, which is our closed beta. It will fill it up with the first pulse chain projects that go through. It will show everyone how this process works in action once all of this becomes public. And we'll have the first projects that actually come and launch through the system. And of course, the NFT holders and everyone who's in already will then get access to these projects. And once that cohort is through, then we launch the proper, because by then we should have completed our campaign. So we'll have enough NFT holders who can govern the ecosystem, right? We'll have enough people who got their Cure tokens to become investors on the platform that super upvote reviews, and we'll have enough people who can then sign up and be the analyst to really fill up the entire system.
Yeah, so it starts out centralized at first in order to avoid abuse of decentralization that could occur in its early stages, because you could have bad actors or malicious people that come in and take advantage of the decentralization early while everything's being built and set everything in a bad course. So while this is being launched, I think it's a smart idea to keep it closed, centralized inside a group of small users who people know and trust, so that then once we have all the bugs and stuff worked out, that you can eventually see it come to this decentralized form, and in a manner that if we do discover some issues or whatever, the people that are a part of the centralized group at the beginning are less likely to abuse it or take advantage of it, so that then we could mitigate it down the future and have everybody be ready to participate this in the most optimal form. So I think this is definitely the right strategy, in my opinion.
No, thanks. It's like a sandbox kind of environment first. And it will also be good that all the analysts, we can sit together and talk about, if there's any issues that we need to figure out before we do a full launch.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the weaning process of something like this, where it can be, you can't just throw it out there in the wild and expect it to work. And for good actors to take care of it, you kind of got to, shelter it and protect it and nurture it until those checks and balances get strong enough to work on their own.
One of the pitfalls of decentralization is that you leave yourself more open to attack. And so if you are more centralized and you're well protected and well funded and stuff, you can secure yourself much more than if you're highly decentralized and you just let everything go out to the community. So while you're forming these ideas and building things, it's actually important to centralize your thoughts and community and leaders and projects, so that once it's finally open to the public, that it can be accessed and not abused.
That's actually a very big criticism of of the bridge smart contracts, right? That hold so much, because normally
100%.
These centralized systems, they start small and you allow for increasingly bigger attacks to happen and mature the system and protect the system against these attacks, right? And these bridge contracts that come online largely untested and immediately hold hundreds of millions of dollars, right, in locked liquidity, and sometimes have very, very basic hacks that can get in there and steal all of that money. That is what can happen if you start really big immediately, fully decentralized.
Yeah, that bridge issue is one of the biggest issues in cryptocurrency that is yet to be solved, because if you think about it just from how the process would be structured, when you're going to bridge an asset from one blockchain to another, someone has to custody the original asset, which is being bridged. And that's where the centralization risk occurs in all of these bridge smart contracts, is that there's an admin behind it who has the ability to manipulate the contracts, and then who could sometimes withdraw the funds. Or like Mark is saying, the way that the contract is structured, it just has simple bugs due to the code not being vetted carefully. And so that centralization risk allows for any party to just access the funds from one specific location. So this is something that really in crypto there needs to be a solution for, and it has yet to be solved, because the only real way that we have so far is if you're going to bridge change from another, you have to, or funds from one chain to another, you have to deposit the original funds somewhere, and someone has to custody that. So even if we have the smart contract, that's still a centralization risk. So maybe you could have it multiple smart contracts with multiple deposits or something like that. But at the end of the day, you're still going to face the same issue. So I'm not sure a solution for that, but that is someone wants to bring that through the Forge. That'd be something huge that you could build an innovation for all of crypto.
There is one hack that I know more about, the Nomad hack. I think they lost $200 million or something. And it was an optimistic bridge. I forgot between which blockchains, but it basically meant if you send money from this chain to that chain, you lock it up here, and then you can go and get the money over here after some time elapsed. And anyone could come and provide a proof that the money did not get locked, right? And then they figured out, the hack figured out that if you submitted a proof and just left it completely blank, that somehow the bridge accepted it. You know, they didn't think of that thing. Yeah, and that got publicly stated, and then it was just a run for the money. Like hundreds or thousands of people just came and did it, and everybody stole a little bit out of this contract until it was basically completely empty. So it can be really, really, and comparing that to Bitcoin or Ethereum code, Bitcoin is obviously the best comparison because it has been patched a lot in the beginning, and there were hacks and there were things.
Multiple inflation bugs,
yeah, but Bitcoin was basically worthless in the beginning. You know, these Nomad bridges immediately from day one, or I don't know, actually day one, but very quickly they had hundreds of millions of dollars locked in these untested software. It wasn't that, you know, over the first year they got, you know, $1,000 in them, and then it became 10,000, and eventually it became really big. So they had no time to actually test and develop this software, whereas the Bitcoin software has actually developed and been patched and been improved so much that now it's almost unthinkable that it could be hacked, even though it costed these billions of dollars of value, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Now let's talk timeline. So you're hoping to have this submission page live tomorrow.
Yeah,
correct?
So we can actually put the link in the description of the video if you like, so people can go in there and they can start submitting projects. I know lots of my friends who want to eagerly await submitting their projects I know there's an AI image generation protocol that wants to submit. That is very exciting. It's a kind of not safe for work type image generation, so that will be exciting. And then we have, I know there's a couple of more DeFi tokens of a friend of mine that are going to come. One of them is actually the one who was referenced in our white paper, so that's pretty cool.
Paul, so you want to talk about your project a little bit?
Who me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually a few months out on the finishing the smart contracts right now and the front end. So we're building both at the same time. But basically, like, to just give an idea, it's an NFT with some DeFi actions to it. And it's going to be tied to the story we've been talking about quite a bit in our Telegram to go with the art for the NFTs. But the story is actually going to have a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of tokenomics kind of put in there in code. So if you go read along with the story, you'll kind of understand some of the tokenomics and some of the alpha.
The big riddle, huh?
It's off the project. So we've been working on that. Yeah. So that's what we're excited about. As soon as we can get past audit, that's the best time to spill all of our guts, because it would take someone about 4 months to catch up to us at that point.
Yeah.
But of course, by then we'd be going into our launch or our mining phase. So
sounds good, man.
Yeah, that's where we're at. So like I could put the thing on the submission, but I don't have a light paper or description, a very in-depth description yet, other than what I just gave you.
You're gonna get.
I don't know if that would get me into starting on the launch pad yet.
So you are using mostly, you have some kind of document, like not a white paper, but you know,
Yeah, I've written an internal document that spells out everything, even stuff that we're not sharing ever. And so I've got to make a light paper that's for public use, you know?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I think it's very hard we don't want to limit it to a certain, you need to have your deck or you need to have your white paper and stuff like that. But because sometimes it can really just be a simple idea that can be summarized in 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs, maybe, right? I still really like my friend. He has this stable growth coin, basically like a collateralized stable coin, but that actually increases in value over time.
Abdul here says he's got an idea for a stable coin pegged to the price of goat meat. Is that the one? Are you spilling the beans right now on his stable coin?
Well, please submit it. Please submit it.
Submit that. That's cool. And so he's obviously wants to launch, but maybe he's not ready to, or has all his stuff ready to share as well. Or
he's actually ready because he's been going around trying to get VCs involved, but VCs, there's so much complication around, their interests and blah, blah, blah. So I think it's actually community-based like this is going to be much more interesting. And just to give you, I think it's what he wants to do is super smart. So if you imagine a stable coin, obviously there's collateral that keeps the peg, right? But if you want to grow at 10% over the dollar per year kind of thing, right? He has various engagement tools that generates, usage of the coin. So trading and using it in transactions and stuff like that. And there's certain fees and things like that, which you can use to increase the value of the project. Most crypto projects actually make money and profit through trading fees and through market making and these kind of things, right? So he has these various components that give you not a huge interest, but a very steady interest over the stablecoin. And he's saying, well, if there is such a coin, then why would you use a stable coin whenever you park your money from whatever else you're doing? If there's one coin that will always increase at a certain percentage over the thing. His coin would not have a limited supply, so it has a type of a mint and a burn function that depends on the usage of the coin, the value, the pegging, all of these kind of things. So it's a very, very smart coin that depends on collateral and algorithms and certain market making protocols and stuff like that to have that stable appreciation. So that's a cool project, So I don't know if it rolls up, but he can submit it, and then we'll have 10, 20 super smart minds here that are very experienced that can start develop it together.
Awesome. Yeah, Lehman's 88 says, go for it. I have an idea, but I need to put it on a paper and present it. So yeah, I think a lot of people, because founding a coin by yourself is overwhelming, right? You're like, okay, I got to think of the tokenomics. I've got to find a team, unless you're already a coder and a marketer and a front end developer, which very few people are. You got to get this whole team together. You got to try to get them to work and try to meet, deadlines and stuff like that. Speaking of deadlines, what after you get the submission launched, what's the next thing you guys want to focus on with Curator and Forge?
That's a good question. It's a good question because we have it's a very fluid thing, right? So we want to see what kind of submissions we get, and if we get really good submissions, we might try to ride that wave. Get, as we said, have this kind of private beta first with people on board from the Pulse Chain community. We now have these leaders together, and we might focus our kind of collective energy on making that successful, right? Because that can have a big impact on getting more projects into the Forge. So that will be a focus following these projects along, right? And supporting that. In terms of features, as I said, everything is already there, right? So we'll really have to focus on we will have to focus a lot on, just on opening up these systems as we tested them, right? So it's a lot of testing and letting people come on board, integrating the voting function with the NFTs. That's something that still has to be built, but we already have all the voting systems, so it's more authentication with the NFTs. So it's a slow rollout of all these features and slowly onboarding people. But a very big thing, of course, is that soon after the completion of the campaign, we'll want to launch the Cure tokens in an IDO. So I think those are, so the launch of the token, launch of the Forge platform, and then just merging those two and making it. You can see there's these parallel things going on where we have this sandbox version where projects are coming in now, and we'll have these leaders doing the reviewing, and we'll make sure that these good projects get the support and launch well. And then simultaneously, we are releasing the public decentralized version, and step by step, stuff is coming over from the kind of sandbox version into the public full launch version.
Yeah, I would say in general, basically, the idea sounds to me that the goal will be to take any of the existing parts of the platform or ecosystem that are centralized and work towards decentralizing them.
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
It's a bit hard to give these kind of very clear-cut roadmap items because
so much work to do, man.
Yeah, and there's so many moving parts, and then the parts need to be. It's not like we mapped out an idea and then start building it, right? We are in the middle of a lot of stuff already there, a lot of stuff already growing, and you constantly have to shift around.
Develop as you go.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's very, very dynamic, very fluid.
Yeah.
The development of this, I would say.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, and the thought that I didn't finish earlier because I have ADD was that had the Forge existed a year ago or whenever I was starting with my project, that would have given me a place to go and start getting ideas and working with it and finding a community.
Would have saved this community a lot of money, man.
Yeah, it could have saved a lot of time and money, of me figuring things out. So
I think that's a very important point. Getting feedback is extremely valuable, especially the earlier you can get it. So even if you have basically a napkin, I don't want to say napkin idea, but a little bit more than that, and you say, this is my basic idea, this is the kind of token I want to do, put it out there, and then see if people come, hey, I love this idea, I want to join, let's do this together. Or everyone is like, this already exists 50 times, this and this and this is the problem. It's so valuable to get that information as soon as possible, so you don't either waste your time on something that really might not make sense and you're not aware of it because you need the input from others. Or on the other hand, the opposite can happen where you really actually do have a good idea and you need this kind of, how do you call that? Verification. You need this kind of, you need to hear it from other, hey, this is a really good idea, and you get support from the community to actually kickstart you into actually doing it.
Fast Abdul says, my Asta DAO will be a perfect fit. 20% tax token, funds used for assassinations. Holders of the Asta token vote on targets. I remember hearing about that back in the day where they were trying to do like these contracts on Bitcoin back in the day that were crazy like that. Had some weird ideas.
Yes.
I don't like the sound of that at all.
Yeah.
So has anyone else got any or questions in chat for Mark here and on the process or about the platform? Just shoot them up in chat. We'll cover those. Other than that, like I said, you're obviously working on getting the submission set up, and then of course the other parts that you were working on, the Forge.
Yeah. So starting from tomorrow, people can go onto the Forge platform. So basically, you go to Curator, you can click that, the Forge Buy Now button, you get onto the Forge page, and there will be a section for the submission page. Until then, you can already go to the submission URL and submit stuff. we have planned streams with various people in the future where we'll pick some of the best projects, present them, go through them, help give feedback. So I think that will be a lot of the activity over the coming weeks from these projects that will get submitted.
Do you have any streams to announce, Mark, that are coming up over the next week?
Well, and also all the streams that you've just been on quite a few streams. So if you guys want to get more information and more AMAs with Mark, you were just with the captain last night, RG3 on a Discord syndicate, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there a dedicated YouTube channel for the Forge?
No, but you can go on the Forge page, and if you scroll to the bottom, you see we basically put all the streams, all the spaces that we put in there. We're gonna have a regular space with Mark Powers, which we'll call Mark and Mark. So we have his energy and my more like technical know-how. We will mix that up and talk about stuff together. There's several other things set up, but I don't have them top of my head right now.
And you've also been on DGen Roundtable, Fashion Coder, I believe, had you on. Or you just talked to her?
I don't think he was on her channel yet.
No, not yet. But yeah, DGen Roundtable. I'm actually going to have a call with them tomorrow, and we'll talk more about how we can integrate on various fronts and work together. They are very excited to start reviewing projects, so that's very exciting. I can announce a partnership with Maddie Olin. We are going to integrate his Time Pays Me contract into the Forge. So we'll make an announcement about that in hopefully tomorrow, otherwise in the coming days. So the important thing here is that we want to reduce rock pulls, right? And one way to do a rock pull, even if all the funds get raised into the smart contract and eventually they end up on the DEX in the IDO and stuff like that, if the founders have all their team tokens and founders tokens, they can basically drain the liquidity, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're doing here is Maddie's contract allows that the founders have to lock up their team tokens in the contract first. So they can do that before, as soon as they create the tokens, they can lock up their team tokens. The rest can go into the liquidity or sent to other people. And only once they do that, the liquidity for the IDO gets released. So we're really taking away the ability from any team to basically rock the liquidity. So that's a super cool integration of an existing protocol. Very excited to do that together. It's not as anything in our network. It's not mandatory for the project to do that. But if they don't do that, they likely get worse ratings. So Fast Abdul would have to bribe a lot to get a good rating if he doesn't use that contract.
It will likely quickly become the standard.
Yes, you're muted, Pulse Ray.
Yeah, sorry, we went over that where he's got to bribe the analysts, he's got to bribe the council, he's got to bribe like 4 or 5 groups of people.
Yes. And the whole purpose is coming to make money. So where is he getting all the money to bribe all these people?
Yeah. Moondog's in the house, sending love and light. Lehman says Forge also needs a YouTube channel. Yeah, you could probably just do a YouTube channel and put all of your streams. And
yeah, I think that'd be a good idea, Mark, to have
everyone else's and stick them all on one channel.
Just have a curator and Forge YouTube and just put any time that you appear, put it on there.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I not stealing the content then? Is that a little bit like, am I allowed to do
Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying there. Yeah.
Yeah, he says like and share. Thank you very much, Vets and Crypto. So cool.
Having said that, we do have a channel for Curator, which we're not that active, but we have been getting quite some great AMAs with bigger protocols. We've got AMA with Caspa, for example, quite early on, and some other projects as well. So I think we'll definitely have a channel moving forward where we do AMAs between analysts and projects. and things like that.
Maybe you don't need a dedicated YouTube channel. Maybe just on the curator page or on the Forge page somewhere. Maybe you could just have a link, and then that link just takes you to a landing page that shows all of your streams or something, all the streams that you did. Update that daily or whatever.
Yeah. Well, currently they're actually all on that landing page. If you scroll to the bottom, I think almost all of them are there. Not Perfect. Yours yet, proof of no work. You need to.
I see how it is, man.
Yeah, we'll need to get your video somehow.
He says, Fastaville says, my bribe protocol will be better for bribes.
So actually, but that's kind of semi-true because there's real bribes and then there's community incentives, right? So the project can actually come in the beginning and offer a portion of their tokens to the Forge, right? Which will be shared over analysts and investors and NFT holders.
But a bribe kind of entails malicious intent, whereas a community incentive is something that's given away to you for being productive. But when you're bribing, you're typically doing something malicious.
Yes, so it's transparent way of still achieving the same thing, because if you're a project that comes and you don't give away anything, you don't get any engagement, right? And I think there's many projects that come and an actual bribe is just a natural thing to do because you're just paying people to get engagement, right? But if there is a transparent, proper way to do that, maybe many projects will be totally happy and prefer that, right? So that's why this is designed like that.
Yeah, in fact, I was at this festival in Florida over the weekend, and it's like a little Burning Man festival where they have people mostly ran by volunteers, you know, working the gates, working security and first aid and all sorts of stuff. And half of their volunteers didn't show up for their shifts this year. So like half the shuttles, if you needed a ride, this thing was about 3 miles long. And so you try to catch a shuttle if you're on foot from one end to the other. And they had all these shuttles there, but no one there to drive them because no one showed up for their shift, or no one was able to check you into the gate because there weren't enough people showing up for their shift. And I asked them, I said, is there a system here where if I show up and I work so many shifts, then I get a discounted ticket next year or a free ticket next year? And they couldn't wrap their heads around that. They're like, oh no, that's barter. That's bad. You know, like money's evil. This is all volunteering. That our community is the spirit of volunteering. And I'm like, yeah, but like, look where that's getting you. Like good intentions only go so far. And if you incentivize someone, they're much more likely to show up and help you out and build something or do their shift.
Yeah, money and incentives on their own aren't bad. It's just in the hands of bad people, they can be abusive.
Yeah, totally. So I kind of been thinking about this whole incentive versus, you know, just community love. That, like I said, it gets you quite a few places, but not to the finish line sometimes.
The community love. Nice.
Festival says smart contracts govern bribes are very virtuous. He's trying to twist it. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything we want to cover this time. There will definitely be more streams and updates as we continue with the Forge and with our project. So again, tell people where they can jump into the Forge and into Curator, and where they can follow you guys.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show it one more time just to make it clear. You can go to the Curator cyrator.com website. Actually, let's say you come to Curator, just click the button up here, and that brings you to the Forge website. You can read about the NFTs here and get your NFTs. You can then check here on HexPulse info. You can check your tranches. You can check your tranches and your transactions. There is a little bit of an update issue. So actually, there's just something missing right now. I'm sure Jay from HexPulse info is on it. But the tracker here is accurate because it doesn't actually go back down. So you can always check which tranche you are in. And from tomorrow on, we will have here a section also for the project submission. So you can actually start submitting projects. And if you have any questions, come to our Telegram, which is right here. Come to our Telegram and ask anything there. We're very active.
Great. Greg Squirrel asks, what happens if a project has no tokens or they're vital to stay within the protocol?
What is this? They're vital.
I think he's asking, like, what if a project doesn't want to give away tokens because they need to be used for the protocol or something? And I think that's completely fine if necessary. It's just that you might not be looked upon as favorably within the community if you're not giving any incentive to the community to participate.
Mm-hmm. Would he be able to use bounties throughout the whole process, or would he only be used to bounties in the first micro review process?
No, you can definitely use bounties throughout the process, various things. You'll want to do multiple AMAs, for example, during the mentoring and incubation phase. Not all projects have to do bounties. If you're a top project that everybody loves, you say, "Ooh, I'm doing an AMA," everybody shows up, right? Mm-hmm. But some other people might have to pay bounties. It's a good question. I'm not really sure. We'll have to discuss this. What we do with non-token projects. I think there's various options we can have. We are thinking of maybe also working, with some of the foundations that are going on and stuff like that, where people can apply for grants or apply for donations even, right? If it's very important infrastructure project, maybe that's the case. Maybe they don't have a token, but it's really important to have it. And then the whole community is behind making it happen and giving feedback. So it doesn't absolutely necessarily have to have a token. But of course, most projects are expected to have.
Awesome. And where can people follow you, Proof of No Work, Dev?
Appreciate it, man. I'm really just active in Telegram, t.me/proof of no work. I have a Twitter that I rarely use, PONW Pulse Chain, and my YouTube is @Proof of No Work.
Awesome. And Proof of No Work has some reviews on Curator, right?
Yeah, I got reviews of HOA, Pulse Chain, Hex, Texan, a few other ones. I think there's about 8 or so I did reviews on.
His HOA review was prior to it appreciating 5x or something.
Yeah, I think it was like 7 to 10x or something like that since I wrote that.
Yeah,
nice.
So it's good to follow some of these reviews.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, cool. We'll be catching you guys later. I'll let you guys know on Twitter and in Telegram when our next stream is, and we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Everyone.
Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.